Hello everyone, I am Bob.
I'm Karri.
And this is Life Redesigned, and in today's episode we're going to talk to you about domicile states, why we chose Florida, and how quickly we were able to make this our home state for full-time RV living. Stick around, Karri. We're going to make this as easy as possible.
Yes.
And try to dispel all the myths, rumors, and misinformation to get you a comprehensive look in our lives and what we did. You ready to do this?
I am.
All right, we've got a lot of things to talk about. Well, hello, Karri, and welcome to Florida, or as I should say, welcome home. So today we are in Navarre Beach, which is on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and wow, what a trip here. So what we're going to cover in this video today is what it is like to pick a domicile state, why we chose Florida, and how easy or not it was to do that. I want to start this video off by saying that neither Karri and I are lawyers, nor do we play one on YouTube TV. So I'm always going to say, in everybody's situation, you need to do your own research, and research being key, and you need to consult an attorney at certain points, and you should know those points kind of for yourself. But for the sake of this video, we're going to break down what it was like for just two people who sold everything in 2022, who bought a brand new RV and decided to hit the road, and then realized, whoopsies, we need a home state for things like driver's licenses, bank accounts, stuff like that. And we're going to cover why, for us, Florida was a great fit in the process. All right. So we are at the Sea Oat Pavilion here in Navarre Beach. First and foremost, what a beautiful beach, but it is incredibly windy today. So of course, we're still experiencing some wireless microphone issues. So we're going to have to do this with the built-in mic mod here. So bear with us as we cover this. So if you're watching this video, chances are you're either started full-time RV living or you're looking to do so, and you're now covering the section of the handbook that says domicile states. And if you're like us and you're in this process, you are probably watching YouTube videos and you're reading blogs and you're going, oh my God.
Information overload.
Or, yeah, exactly. And first we're going to say that we went through all of this ourselves. We watched endless amounts of videos, read endless amounts of blogs. We attended online seminars with escapees, and we've made a few determinations. Now, not everybody's going to agree with what we're saying, but it is our experience, and that's what we're sharing. So we'll start off with escapees. Our intentions when we started this journey was we were going to become Texas residents, and we were going to use escapees for that process. The more we started entertaining Texas, things didn't quite gel. And I'm gonna stop that for a second, because I think what I want to say here is that whatever domicile state that you choose, okay, there's a few things you need to keep in mind. One, you're going to need to make sure of that state's values match those of your own. And I'll use as an example, if you are a recreational marijuana user and that's important to your lifestyle, then you probably want to pick a state up in New England, maybe Massachusetts, Colorado, something like that. Because Florida, it's not legal.
Nope.
If gun rights are important to you, you might want to check with your state's gun laws. Political points of view, believe it or not, play a huge part in this, because if you're a state that is all about their residents' freedoms, freedom of movement and stuff like that, that's a state you're going to need. If you're looking at a state that locks down its residents because they want to restrict movement, that can be a big thing. So political affiliation is huge. Voter rights are important. The ability to vote absentee is a big thing. What that's all like. The ease of registering to vote. These are things that you have to consider first and foremost. So when we started looking at Texas, there was quite a few things that we didn't like about Texas, and there was quite a few things that we didn't like about the escapees program overall. Escapees, from our point of view, is run by a bunch of lawyers who are looking to sell legal services. First and foremost, every question, they want to defer to a lawyer, and everything is all about legal things. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for a lawyer, right? But I don't think that necessarily needs to extract every penny from you. And it seems like escapees was an awful lot of nickel and diming stuff.
Yeah.
Now, when we looked at escapees outside of Texas, because we said, oh, well, you know, we could always use escapees for Florida. Then it became a different situation. So escapees, if you want, they could definitely help you with Florida. But they want to send your mail to Texas, so you would need a Texas mailing address. And then you would have your Florida residency address.
Yeah.
But your mail would go to Texas first, be scanned, and then sent to Florida. Now, if you're like Karri and I, who have important mail that you kind of need in a timely fashion, you know, work things, stuff like that, I don't want my mail going to Texas, then to Florida, then sent to me wherever we happen to be.
Right.
So that was a big no-no. So instantly, the other part of this is, what drew us to Florida was, there's always going to be a time where you need to go home, okay? And your domicile state, for all intent purposes, is your home state. Whether it's a jury duty that you cannot get out of, whether it's a numerous other legal things that could happen along the ways that you need to head home to. It should be something that's within your travels. Now, for Karri and I, ever since we started our travels, Florida's always been a state that we've absolutely loved. So it was an easy progression for us just to go, Florida's where we're going to be. And there's some other benefits to it as well. But we could see ourselves always being able to swing through Florida if need be. And then when we decide to settle down and we decide to do the home thing again, Florida will probably be our top choice. So that being said, okay. So you've done all this research, you've decided that Florida's home for you. Well, congratulations, because Florida's absolutely amazing and you're gonna love it. There's no state income tax coming from New Hampshire. That's no change for us. There are some caveats to Florida. Florida has higher sales tax, which if you're registering a brand new truck and trailer, that makes a big difference. So there's that. There's costs associated with insurance as far as vehicle and full-time RV insurance, which tends to be a little pricier because of that Florida address. But you do save money on Disney tickets because you're a Florida resident. So that kind of, you know, they're right there. That's little perks. So now that you've decided that you want Florida, okay, Karri and I are going to go through what the next steps were, okay? And now that we don't have escapees, what are we going to do? So the instant thing that I always do is if it's something popular that's being blasted all over YouTube, I look at why, okay, being a YouTuber, okay? And one of the things I found out with escapees is there's a lot of perks if you blast escapees all over the place. And I'll leave it at that. So I started looking at alternatives. There was quite a few. There was like America's Mailbox. There was, you know, but they were all as some good things, some bad things, until we came across MYRVMAIL. Now, MYRVMAIL is out of Crestview, Florida. Yeah. And they are they're basically RVers that started this. And they cater to RVers. That's the name it goes, MYRVMAIL. We called them. They were super informative. There was no, let's defer you to a lawyer. There was no, let's answer your questions, and we'll take the time to answer as many as you have. And we had quite a few. You know, as far as what the setup process was, how long the time frame was, whatever, right?
Well, they even offered, because you have to download an app and whatnot, they offered to stay on the phone while I was doing it. So if I had any questions while being set up, they could answer them from the get-go.
Right. And now the difference between that and escapees was always like, let's have our lawyer call you back. That's no joke. So once we decided with MYRVMAIL, I believe the cost, and you'll have to do, I'll leave some links below. We're not affiliated with them other than we use their service. But it was something like $130 a year. They have a monthly plan if you want to do that. But really what was the kicker for this was, once we called them and they were like, are you guys ready to roll? And we said yes. We were done within a matter of hours.
Yep.
We set up there, we filled out the paperwork, we scanned it and sent it back. And then there's one part that's required by the Postal Service to be notarized. They even set us up with an online notary. I think the fee was like $15,
Yep.
$20, and we were done. So we just visually got on a Teams call essentially and signed our paperwork, and boom, we're done. So we had the address all within 12 hours, right? And that was mostly because I was working and Karri's doing the back end stuff. So now that you have your address, this is where the fun part starts, because now you can start looking into what it's going to take, because you have a Florida address. What's it going to take to get that going and turn that into something that's going to be your driver's license and all that good stuff. So, yeah, the quickest and easiest thing to do, okay, the first things that we did was we contacted our banks, and we have 2 banks that we use, and we also have about 4 different credit card companies that we use. And we notified them all immediately. This was our new address going forward. We would like all mail, all statements, all whatever directed to this mail in Crestview, Florida. And that was the start of it, right? Because once you have those things, the requirements is, and I'll have Karri chime in with these in a minute, this was all dependent on those. So when we looked at, okay, what do we need to go into the town offices to become Florida residents, right? So what do they need, Karri?
They needed your passport or birth certificates. They needed 2 pieces of mail from each person. And they also needed your social security card, and you needed to bring in your driver's license to surrender at that time.
Your driver's license from your previous state.
Your previous state,
Okay.
yeah.
So now this is where redundancies, right? If they asked for 2 pieces of mail per person, we brought 4. If they asked for just your driver's license and your passport, we brought driver's license, passport, birth certificate, marriage license, social security card. We brought everything.
Pretty much.
And we did, really this is all paperwork you should have as a full-time RVer anyway. You should have access to this all the time anyhow. It's very important. The other part that I'm going to touch briefly on is vehicle registrations.
Yep.
Ours was a brand new unregistered RV that we drove, or we towed down to Florida. Probably not the most legal way of doing it, but we didn't know. And if you have a lien on either one, you contact the tax office. They'll give you a form. You send it, you fax it over to your lien holder, and they'll take care of things behind the scenes, because they'll need to transfer title to Florida, but the tax office will take care of that once you do your forms. And you're going to need to do this all before you can say, I'm ready to set up an appointment.
Yep.
So now once you have all this documentation and you have this folder, like Karri said, you make the appointment.
And you can do that online or by phone.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, we called the tax office probably about 3 or 4 times to get clarification on things. They were extremely helpful. Now, remember, when you go in and you make this appointment, you'd much rather have first-hand knowledge from the tax assessor's office than to go in and go, Bob and Karri from Life Redesigned said, this is all I'm going to need. Today's Tuesday when we're shooting this video. It's going to launch on Sunday. By Monday, that law could change. That's just the way it goes, and always make sure you're on top of it.
Each circumstance is different.
This is probably going to be, where to domicile is probably going to be the most important factor that you decide on. It more so than what rig you choose, right? And what truck you've got to tow it.
Yep.
This is the most important thing, because it does affect everything. So now, once you have your appointment, you gather all this stuff in, okay, and you show up for your appointment. Show up about 10 minutes, 15 minutes early, and they'll tell you, they'll even text you a few days before to confirm. And then this is where the fun part starts. So you go in for your appointment, sorry. All right. So you go in for your appointment, and once you have all your paperwork done, this whole process took us about an hour. And the longest part of this was me and Karri choosing which license plates. And I say choose because in the state of Florida, they give you a poster on the wall that has about 50 to 100 license plates, and you can choose whichever one you want.
Yep.
And they have them in stock. This is coming from a small town that had a town hall with a tax collector in it. They had a little window like on the side of your house, and she only worked like 3 days a week, or maybe
If that.
if that, or decided she could take a day off because her grandkid was in town.
Yeah.
This was a totally different experience.
But in Florida, you can choose one for your truck and a separate one for your RV.
Yeah.
They don't have to be the same.
So this is crazy.
We didn't, which was cool to us.
And on top of it, they have a multitude of people that take care of people. We sat with one young girl who did everything for us.
And they're
She
funny.
took us as a couple.
Yeah.
And they did everything for us like pretty quickly. So all our paperwork, we went in out without physical pieces of mail, because again, what we had done with our bank accounts and our credit cards was that we had already had those changed over. So all you had to do is download your statement. They don't need to see the physical piece of mail. They just need to see the mailing address as being your MYRVMAIL box and stuff. So we did that. And the other parts of this are VIN checks. So VIN checks for us, because, and again, this is our situation only. We had a brand new RV and we have a truck. The truck, they did the VIN check there on site, because I didn't feel comfortable bringing the RV to this small town hall. Prior to this, there's a form that you can fill out, and you can have any of the local police come in, state police, sheriff's office, or the local town police, and they do it free.
Yep.
Karri called them at 10 o'clock in the morning a couple of days prior, and they were there within 15 minutes. So much so that we didn't even have the paper printed, and they did the VIN check on the RV. When we were down at the town with all our paperwork and everything, the young girl came out with me to the truck, and she verified the VIN there. That's how they do that. Very simple process. So once you go through this and you present all your paperwork, you are literally done. They will hand you your driver's license. You set up your voter registration there. They'll walk you through all of this. It's really easy. You hand them a check. We walked out of there with our driver's license, our registrations.
Yeah.
The only thing they had to do was mail the title to us for the RV. The title to the truck, since finance goes to them, but we have the title to the RV. They mail that to us within a couple of weeks, and boom, we're Florida residents.
Woohoo.
We walked out of there with shiny Florida licenses, the whole nine. Now, a couple other things I want to address real quick. There's also an affidavit that you can do where you go into the local court and you declare your residency to Florida. Okay. For our situation, we didn't need that. It's not needed. It's not required. There are certain circumstances that if you have a state that maybe is famous for coming after people for tax evasion because they own property somewhere, and you're pretending to, there's a possibility of pretending to live somewhere else for that benefit, you might want to do that. Again, consult your attorney. Do not listen to people on YouTube that say you need to do this, because you don't. And the other part of this I'm going to say is, when you decide that you want to do this, above and all else, make sure that you're choosing a county and you're choosing a tax office that deals with a high volume of military, and that is used to out-of-staters changing residency. I can't stress that enough, because we've heard the stories of certain islands in Florida. There's Isle something where it's a nightmare doing this, but in Crestview they deal with a lot of military, Pensacola, all these areas. They know what they're doing to get you in and out. Their job isn't to harass you. Their job is to make you a Florida resident and move on to the next one. And I got to say, we've changed states probably about 5 times.
Yeah.
In the course of just moving and buying houses and whatever. This was the most painless process there has been. All these YouTube videos that make it sound like it's this horrendous thing to get through, it's really not. Or maybe they're just doing it wrong, or they didn't do their research.
And that's the most important piece, is do your research, because again, there's 1,000 scenarios and it's all different, so you have to do what works for you.
So now you've become your Florida resident, and you're like, hey, Karri and Bob, what do I do next? Right? Well, basically you enjoy living in Florida, because there's a lot of great things. The beaches here are amazing. Some of the RV resorts here are absolutely incredible. These sunsets, and sunrises, like you couldn't ask for better times. So probably one of the easiest, best decisions we've made hands down. Now, again, we're not lawyers, but if you do have questions that we feel that we can help you with, some basic info questions, drop some comments in the comment section below. Let us know what you're thinking, and if we can answer, we will. If we can't, we'll tell you might want to talk to a lawyer. It's just sometimes you just have to. But enough of me rambling. Well, let's go down and check out the beach real quick, and then we're going to sign off. Now, something Karri and I love to point out here is that if you follow a lot of YouTubers about Florida, they'll tell you that Destin is the most beautiful beach on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And I'm going to flat out tell you right now,
I call bull.
We're going to call BS on that, because this is Navarre Beach, and we are so impressed with this. We're sharing it twice with you, because look at this. This is just amazing. This water is a nice teal color. The sand is white. Look at that. So if you made it this far in the video, we appreciate your time and listening, and hopefully you learned a little bit of something so that you don't think it's as crazy as everybody makes it out to be.
Yep.
That being said, I'm Bob.
I'm Karri.
And this has been Life Redesigned. Welcome to Florida, and we'll catch you next Sunday.